Thank you to Manscaped for being a sponsor for our show. Go to manscaped.com, put in code SFU, and get 20% off and worldwide free shipping. Thank you again, Manscaped. This is Co-op Mode, round 102, the official video game podcast of Secret Friends Unite. I am one of your hosts, Todd Oxtra, joined by Mark, the Canadian Caravan. How you doing, buddy?
I am pretty good. How are you?
Mark, I know how you're really doing. I read your message. $1,000 car repair, porch pirates stealing things off your porch. It sounds like a great day.
It was it was a Monday to end all Mondays, my friend. I thought it was going to be a quick oil tire change, and $1,100 later, it was not as quick and easy. I needed several things that once they get it up on the hoist, they're like, "Hey, this is broken, and that's here. Look at this." So that was fun, and then got home and expected there are a few packages or two packages that said delivered, and there's nothing there, and so we figure,
oh my god,
we figure the porch pirates got us, which has never ever been a problem. I've been here for 10 years in this house, never had a problem with porch pirates or anything like that. Usually it's a pretty quiet neighborhood, so there we go. That's my Monday.
Everything is more expensive and people are more desperate these days. And I think the two complaints you have today might be interrelated there, my friend. You go for an expensive car repair, and that's what everybody's dealing with right now. It's crazy.
Pretty much.
Mark plays a lot of Sea of Thieves, so I guess those pirates finally got their revenge back at you, Mark.
Just wait till I find their ship and sink it. Ruthlessly.
You could put on the Mandalorian helmet that you have back there and just go hunt them down. That would probably make their day.
That might be tomorrow's plan. Yeah.
All right. There you go.
Yeah, we'll see.
Well, you see this guest. We haven't introduced him yet. And that is Mr. Victor Lucas from EPN, Electric Playground Network. You may have seen him on G4 back in the day. If you're Canadian, you've seen him on networks there. I saw him on all those places, G4, on syndication in the States as well. And just doing reviews and entertainment media. The man is an icon when we talk about people on like the Mount Rushmore of gaming media. There's very few that come as, I guess, as tenured and have met as many cool people and done as many cool things as Victor. So Victor, thank you for being on the show.
Todd, you're making me sweat, man. Thank you for that very nice introduction. That's great. That's like everything's like getting weird there when you start talking about things. Yeah, so I've been doing this a long time. I've been very, very, very privileged to discover something that I've wanted to do a long time ago, and I still do it. And I still get up every day and I talk about all these things that I'm incredibly, passionate about and a fan of. And I am really grateful that people have been watching and supporting our stuff for so long. It feels incredible. But also at the end of the year, it also feels a little overwhelming because it's just bang, 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 bang as this release after release. It's a crazy time of year.
And you have been doing this well before video, was really an easy way to get out there your message.
Yep.
What you love. 95 is essentially when you started. Then 97 things kind of came to fruition when things finally came into being. I mean, I remember in college in 95, I had to get my video game news. I had to go to the newsstand and get Edge or Game Pro or one of those magazines. And video was not even a thing. So the fact that you said, I think I can do this in video form, when really it was only big studios doing those type of things and cameras. Yeah.
Well, we didn't talk about video back then. We didn't say video. We said TV. I want to make a TV show, and that's what we did. I assembled a small team. My wife, especially, she was integral in supporting me and encouraging me, and being a realist as well about some of these crazy ideas that I was having. But we had this concept of making a television show, and I went and started meeting with game studios and with television networks and TV stations, and showed them all of these magazines and all of this data. And a huge part of what got people interested in the idea of a weekly show around video games like this was the PlayStation was coming. And it had launched in Japan by the time we were starting to, talk about this as a TV show. And it was really a game changer, pun intended. It was really like a thing that showed that, these graphics in games were going to get closer and closer to what Pixar was putting on the big screen. And that was a very crystallizing moment. It was the money, how much money games were making, and how much the technological advancements were like really shifting to a new era of interactive entertainment. And so broadcasters started to pay attention, and we had a solid idea that made a lot of sense. And I was fortunate enough to be able to express the idea in a way that people understood what I wanted to do. And even though I had never produced anything, and most of the people that I had assembled hadn't really, from the ground up, produced something, people had worked in various projects and stuff. We pretty much figured it out. We had a good team right from the beginning, and we built a show that was kind of undeniable. And a big part of it was that we went out and met with the people that were making the games. We really endeavored to not just be a bunch of experts in the studio pontificating on what people should play. We went out and talked with everybody that was actually making software. And that was fun. It was fun to make, and it was fun to watch right from the get-go.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Mark.
Oh, I was going to say, like, that approach to things was different. Todd, you say you got some Canadian TV. If I say the name Nicholas Pickles, does that bring up?
I knew you were going to bring him up, and I think it's a fake thing, a fake person, Mark.
No, because up until the stuff that like Victor was doing was like, that was kind of what we got here to see games on TV. Like, it was just like kids that looked kind of my age or whatever, like playing games against each other, or maybe even a little older back then. And then it was like taking that to the next level and like talking, like, what do you mean? Like, people make games. It's not just like, me and my jackass friends, like sitting down and playing on a couch, or like, the same kind of thing, like taken to TV. It was like more detailed, more like there's a seriousness to it or something. It was
that
more...
show was a huge inspiration for me. I was Video and Arcade Top 10, and it was on YTV, but not in the way that you would think. I looked at that as kind of an insult for my tastes. I looked at that as this juvenile little, kind of commercial around video games. It was just all hype. And I was curious. I was in my 20s when we started this journey, and I wanted to know more. And I figured there were lots and lots of players and lots of just people, just general people that would like to know more. And so that's what EP was. It was about diving into that curiosity. And yes, games are made by people. And what's interesting is we've kind of come full circle, and now we don't really let the developers speak, come forward and speak, unless it's a marketing video. Right now, like, we're in this new era of a billion experts in games, but we're all just, it's all conjecture, it's all hearsay, it's all Reddit rumors and information dumps and things like people going into reverse engineering code or stealing, leaks or something like that, and trying to guess what these companies are working on, instead of like really endeavoring to get out there with these different developers. And the developers are also in the crosshairs so much. There's so many people out there that are just up in arms about every decision that game makers make, and they say something, and then Twitter blows up, and the angry rant videos start coming, and it's a weird place. There's more people talking about games than ever before, but I feel like we have lost the connection to who's making them still. It's a bit weird.
It like is, my uncle works at Nintendo, only the soapbox is so much bigger that you get a billion my uncle works at Nintendo's, and no one's really breaking it down the in a more detailed fashion like you guys.
Yes. Yeah. Well, it also, the business has changed, and all of these billions of outlets really serve the industry in a lot of really cool ways as well. And there's excellent content being made at every level, whether the single creators out there or the bigger teams or whatever. But I do feel like one of the things that we lucked into and were fortunate enough to kind of grow into was we reached a lot of people that didn't really know that much about games, and we brought them into that world, and we've got a lot of people to kind of respect this industry that really didn't ever think about it before. And I miss that very much. I miss that. And I don't know if we can get that back anymore, because TV's kind of imploded. TV's a very weird business, and the streaming, services are a very interesting animal as well. But we were there in that moment, and I feel very fortunate that we got to do it that way.
It's amazing. And I think, like you said, I mean, the individuals who watched you interview people and just hopefully got an understanding of, games can be a medium that can really open your eyes, which is fantastic. I'm hopeful we'll get more of that with people. People will start understanding what a video game producer does. One of the artists does, the technical people that, if I want to go into a career in gaming, I don't know how. I just want to make games, but I don't know what part I want to go into. Like my son's 17 now. He wants to go to computer engineering. It's like, I think we need more of that. We need to understand like what people do in gaming that can actually then create people that want to really go into it with their eyes wide open versus they didn't know what to expect. They just went to a gaming school. So I'm hoping we get more of that, more documentaries of how games were made. Because Victor, this was on a channel you were on, Icons. I thought we need more shows like Icons that show the history, the developers, and kind of more about gaming. And I know people like No Clip, if you've watched any of those, they used some really good documentary short, but it's on YouTube. And if you don't know about it, how are you going to find it? So I think there needs a way to funnel people to content like that. And I think that's really important.
Yep. Well, yeah. I mean, you're speaking to the choir here. Absolutely. I love making the docs too. We've done a lot of documentaries over the years, and I just like working with the industry. It's really cool. I'm a fan. I didn't start this as like I'm going to get rich and I'm going to like come up with some idea that's going to transform the world. It was like I just want to go because nobody was doing it. that was the business plan. Nobody's doing it. And when I started, there were like 25 magazines coming out a month, and I was subscribing to all of them, and none of them had video. And I was like, well, it seems kind of crazy to talk about video games and it's just static images. Why don't we go and like really put these things out there with video content and meet the people that are making them? I think there'll be a show in there, and then the other thing was the reviews on the run component where we'd have a couple of different opinions and, have that chemistry of two honest people discussing their thoughts about all of this stuff, and all of it kind of clicked and worked, So I feel very fortunate and a lot of, I don't know. I'm just incredibly grateful that I had this amazing opportunity to start that and then to run with it and to grow it and to keep going.
One more curious, question. Yeah. Okay, I'll run first and then you finish up, Todd. I'm just curious, like the technical hurdles back then. Right now, you can literally press a button on your controller, take a screenshot or a video, or there's capture cards that are between $100 and $200 that do a pretty fantastic job of capturing things. When you started to get into it, did you think of that kind of stuff, or was that one of those things that you were just like, we'll figure it out, capturing footage?
We needed people, we needed resources back then, and people ask about our archive content all the time, and like they want to see more of our classic episodes and stuff, and I want to put all of that stuff up there, but a lot of it is still on physical media, and the biggest thing about physical media, it's a good way to store all of that content. And if you've got it, in a pretty good environment and it doesn't deteriorate, because that stuff does deteriorate over time, but it's a pretty good way to store all that content. But that content's there in real time, like if you want to ingest it, if you've got a 30-minute tape, you have to take 30 minutes to ingest it into a deck. And if you just want a little bit, you have to find it on the deck. And so that time is a massive resource hog. And so that invariably meant that we had to add people to do game recording if we needed footage. We had to add, the technology in place to kind of frame lock video so that it would go onto Beta SP. That was our first medium. And that, and then that has to be ingested into a computer in real time, and it's usually at a lower resolution because back then the computers that we would, it was called offline editing and online editing, couldn't take all of that data at full resolution. So you'd edit at a smaller resolution, and then you'd have to re-import it again at full resolution to output it. And so we were doing weekly shows, but it took a lot of people to make a 1.5 hour weekly show. The reporting element of it, and then all the editorial elements of it, and all of the post-production and all the, recording of all the games and stuff like that. We did a little bit of everything. We did some DV formats. We were the first production company, I think, in the world to make an HD video game TV show. There was a network called Gameplay that Rainbow Media started, and we did a show for them called The Art of Play. And so we bought an HD cam deck. So this was a Sony HD cam deck, and it was a $75,000 deck. And the tapes were $200 for an hour. And we made a sort of a documentary series, or not a documentary series, sort of like a cinematic type series where we would tell the story of the games using voiceover and gameplay footage and cutscene material, but it was all in HD. So we did that format, and there was a really cool format that's still around, but it was called XD Cam. And at the first uses of it were on Blu-ray disc. So we'd have these disc cartridges that housed a Blu-ray, and they'd go into the side of the camera, and they would burn it right to the Blu-ray. And the cool thing about that is you would take that and stick it into the deck, and you could ingest your media, your 60 minutes of media, in 5 minutes. And so things were much, much quicker, and things were starting to get a lot better. Yeah. And then the next iteration of that were like on cards. And so when I started with EP, we would go to E3 as an example, and we would go down with 100 beta tapes in a big Santa bag, and we'd have 3 camera crews, and we'd go with all of these tapes, and they'd be spread out, and we'd go out and shoot maybe, 30 tapes per camera per day or something like that. Or I don't know how it broke down, but we'd come back with a huge bag, a huge sack of tapes of all the stuff that we had shot. And then companies would give us B-roll on beta tape. And then the last E3 that I went to, which was 2019, it was like it could fit into the little coin pocket in your jeans, and it was,
that is crazy.
Here's a Dropbox link. Yes, yeah.
Now it's too much content. Yeah.
Now it's too much content. Yeah. But
that's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that story of us producing all this stuff is a very interesting trip through TV production as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's I think something that people don't really understand, right? Like when we made a TV show through the 90s and the 2000s, it's not the same as making a YouTube show now, Like it was a lot of different pieces kind of working together to figure things out as we went along. And it was really cool. And so we have like this history of TV media, at least in terms of videotape form. We didn't go back into 1/4-inch tape or shooting on film reels and things like that, but we went for a long time.
Yeah,
that's that kind of production.
Kind of what I was hoping was you've been doing this for so long, and the technology's changed so much. I figured that was going to be an interesting answer, and you more than delivered. That was really cool.
Well, I had geniuses along the way that I collaborated with the whole time. One of the greatest friendships and greatest discoveries I made was with a guy named Aaron Mooney, who became our post-supervising producer. He came on board to be an online editor, so he was the guy that was finishing a show, and then his role grew to kind of figuring everything out in our company. And as we kept making shows, we kept getting new broadcasters. So we'd already done 5 years or something before we were on G4. And we had a lot of relationships with different companies. And there's huge stories in there. But anyways, Aaron was there the whole time, and he figured everything out. And so every transition, whether it was from the Avid editing program, to Final Cut, we were on Final Cut for a long time. Then we started moving it over to Premiere. But we were also growing the business and doing other types of shows, and putting more people in seats with more editing software, and so we had to network the content together. So, we had to be able to grab a bunch of batch footage off of a big server, basically. And he did it. He figured all of that out. And so he became kind of, well, I'll put it this way. We used a piece of software called Edit Share, and they put our company and Aaron and all of the work that he did on the front page of their website, because we had cracked some code to be able to, because that was by the time we were making 2 daily shows. We were making like 600 episodes of TV a year, which was probably pretty big record in Canada, I think, for an independent production company. And we just had to figure it out. So yeah, we were on the cutting edge with a lot of this stuff, just as the video game industry kept, transitioning and also being on the cutting edge,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Wow. Well, before we get into the main part of the show, I have one more question, because
Sure.
I see that you're working on potentially a documentary about your journey.
Well, there is a gentleman that his name is Jonathan. I don't know if he wants his whole name out there, but he reached out to me. I work with the Vancouver Film School from time to time, and somehow I met him. And he grew up with the show, and we got to talking, and nothing has really progressed on it, though, because of the pandemic. That's really impacted everything, especially, everything. But it also has impacted EP. Like, it's just been a total change. Like this basement set that I've been in since 2020 this is the first time I've ever done anything like this. Like we've had studios and sets, and I was working with the Vancouver Film School in up until the pandemic, shooting a live show out of their Vancouver Film School cafe. And anyways, he has an idea to create a documentary about my life, and to interview people about, well, maybe not my life, but about my path with the electric playground, which is incredibly kind and a little embarrassing, but it's it's kind of going to be his project if he's going to be putting that all together. But yeah, he did reach out to me with that to talk about that. So we'll see if that happens.
Well, it's on IMDb. So
it is already.
It's
yeah.
real.
Okay.
So it's happening, right? So that's all it takes, deserved. Right? Exactly. It's there on the internet, so it doesn't lie. It's either go to Wikipedia or IMDb. I guess one is better than the other, but well deserved though. I hope it gets made, and I want more people to see your story. That's awesome.
Well, what's weird, Todd, is like people have seen my story. Like I if they've watched the show anyway along the journey, that's my story. That's what I've been doing. And I do the same thing. What's weird is I do the same stuff I've always been doing. I play these games, and I sit down and talk about them. I try to dissect them. I roll without a script. I go in front of the camera. I try to kind of navigate through what my thoughts are and express them. And now I edit everything because it's just me putting all this stuff together. But the core of what I do is still to go and dive through this content and this media. And then I also get to speak with the people that make them, and most of it has been through Zoom the last few years, but I have been able to do a little bit of traveling. And I think by next year, fingers crossed, I'll be back out on the road and visiting studios all over the damn place. And I can't wait. But that's, it's what's weird is technology has improved so much that I can do a lot of this stuff by myself, which is just weird as hell. It took so many of us to make this content before, and now it's like literally I can bring my iPhone somewhere and shoot something, and it's good, like it works, and it blows me away.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. I cannot wait. Well, the part of the show that everybody's been waiting for is Buy, Rent, Return. And this one's a little controversial because we just had both of our Thanksgivings in Canada early October, and then in the US it's the end of November. So there's lots of opportunity to eat some very good food. And I think one of the controversies always is like, what type of food do you like? And I did not include a specific Canadian side dish. If there is one, I can plug one in, but you'd have to let me know.
Poutine.
It's a Yeah, or a Tim Berkey, which is a bunch of Timbits stuffed inside a turkey.
Okay, I will go with the poutine. I'm putting poutine in then. Okay, because poutine is definitely.
That's not a Thanksgiving specific side dish, though, and for many, that is a full course.
Exactly. Yeah, being Lower Canada, essentially we have fully embraced poutine broadly. So my wife absolutely loves it. So definitely part of
That's
the
awesome.
conversation for great food. So we're gonna go with this. So buy, rent, return.
I'll rent
Stuffing.
poutine. Oh, okay. Sorry.
Stuffing? Come on, wait, no, stuffing, mashed potatoes, poutine.
I'll take rent poutine for $500, Alex.
I think the best case scenario is you're renting poutine. That's
well, you're renting all the food.
We really are. It's yep.
Yes,
doesn't stay with us forever.
Yes. All right. Well, Victor, since you're very passionate about this, so buy, rent, return: stuffing, mashed potatoes, or poutine.
Oh, well, what's weird is I don't eat meat. I'm a vegetarian, and so I haven't had turkey in a long time. And there's gravy with meat juice, I think, in poutine. So I don't really eat poutine. So I guess and maybe in the stuffing. So I think it'd be mashed potatoes for me. I like mashed potatoes. Potatoes are good food.
So you're buying the mashed potatoes. Now, say if we could make these vegan or vegetarian wise. Does that help?
You know what? I've never had poutine because of that. So I would love to try it if there was some kind of vegan option. I'm sure there is, but I just I've never had it. I don't know if I have to turn in my citizenship now by admitting that, or like what happens? Do the RCMP come to my house if I admit that I've never had like, am I screwed? I've screwed myself right now. Nobody's going to go see my documentary now. Damn it. No, I just, I've never had it before.
That's fair.
Well, my wife is gluten sensitive, and she makes excellent stuffing with gluten-free bread. So that's kind of probably a not respected side dish, but it's delicious. So I hope you can find, Mark. Let's have a mission to find vegetarian gravy.
All right.
I'm sure it exists out there. I'm sure there's got to be vegan. I mean, if there isn't, that's a business to be made right there.
Absolutely.
I didn't think I'd be talking about vegan poutine today. This is cool. Like we've taken a weird corner in this video game podcast.
Well, we do.
We definitely do. Okay, Mr. Mark, what are your choices?
Oh man, I am going to similarly buy mashed potatoes because mashed potatoes are amazing.
You win with that. Yeah.
I mean, come on, you gotta buy the mashed potatoes. They're so versatile and delicious and floofy. For my rent, I think I'm gonna rent poutine. I don't have poutine often, like maybe max once a year, but I actually don't remember the last time I had poutine. So I think it's been a couple of years. So if they're coming after Victor, they're shortly coming after me as well, I think. So I'll throw on the Mandalorian helmet. They'll have to go through me to get to you. And
all right, sounds good.
Yeah. We're in this together. And so that makes me I'm returning stuffing, because like if you're having a big meal and you're having, in this case, for some reason, poutine and mashed potatoes, why do you want stuffing?
You know, the thing about stuffing is you can sense recall stuffing if you've ever had it in your life immediately. Yeah. We all know what the taste of that is. Mm-hmm. It's not like something you miss. Like can be tasty. I feel that, right? Like I had it when I was a kid, and I still I can taste it in my head. When you say it, I was like, yeah, I don't miss it. I don't miss that.
If you ask me my least favorite part of any of those big turkey kind of meals or anything like that, it's probably going to be stuffing, unless there's something else that I'm really not digging. But if my plate's full and the stuffing can't fit on my plate, I'm still okay. So that's my return. Todd, how are you feeling? You kind of made this. You just had Thanksgiving down in the States?
Well, I'm guessing we made a mistake by replacing the pie with poutine. So
pie,
a little bit more
pie
controversial at that point, right?
Yeah. What kind of pie? Like a pie with your turkey dinner? What kind of pie would that be?
It's a holiday food. So I always, associate, what type of pie. I mean, pumpkin is, it's big in the States.
Right,
it's kind of like that holiday pie, but some people don't like pumpkin pie and they go with like a pecan pie. Sometimes they go like a cherry or something like that. So that's why I'm like thinking, well, maybe a pie would be more.
Listen, man, if pie is on the list, it wins. There's like nothing beats pie.
There you go.
Pie
is replacing poutine.
Yeah, pie is Thanos. It's like they're all gone.
It's a snap.
I can't even argue with that one. Just saying pumpkin pie, I'm just kind of like, I want some pumpkin pie.
Yeah.
Where can I get that right now?
I actually make a mean pumpkin pie. I do that, but I make it with. I sound like a freak, but I make it with coconut oil and coconut sugar, and with maple syrup. So no refined sugar. And it's freaking amazing. The last one I made this time was the best I've ever made. We were freaking out over it. It was so good. But no refined sugar and no butter and that's about it. Everything else is kind of the same.
Everything's better with maple syrup.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
It's so good.
Yeah. Wow.
So Mark, did you change yours?
Oh yeah, pie wins 100%.
So what's losing out then? Is this still stuffing? I guess stuffing.
Stuffing's still out of there. It's good.
I mean, just the word stuffing. Just the word stuffing feels like it's just like they wanted to throw food on the plate to fill it up, right? It's just like that people didn't have enough on their plate, so we'll just throw bread and bits of vegetables and stuff and goo, and we'll put that into the plate. Add the goo.
Do something with that space in the bird.
Yeah, totally.
Timbits.
Exactly.
Or stuffing, I guess. Yeah, that's it. So Todd, I'm guessing, does pie kind of rule your list as well?
Though, I can have pie anytime. That's why I always think of like the holidays, like what's special. So my wife makes a very definitely not a vegetarian stuffing. So it's wonderful. It's got sausage in it. It's got cranberries, apples, plus the bread. So it's a thing, not just dry bread, which is delicious. And you could probably use like a vegan sausage if you wanted to. That sounds unappetizing, then don't. But
I'm thinking you lucked out there, Todd. You lucked out there, my friend, with the wife that you have married there. Good job.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
sounds like an amazing cook.
Requested her to make it. Yes, definitely asked her to make it. Yeah, then I'm going to buy the pie because pie's not an everyday thing. So I definitely go with pumpkin pie. My wife made a gluten-free crust pumpkin pie. It was delicious, really good. Enjoyed that. Mashed potatoes, I feel like I'm only returning it because I think I have mashed potatoes more frequently than I probably should. So it's like not a special thing, but it's really good. I'm not disparaging it. It's just I like mashed potatoes a lot. So we eat a lot. So it's not the special holiday.
Should we be dropping in video game names in the middle of this this discussion right here? It sounds a bit like the Muffin Maids segment from SNL. Like those delicious muffins that we were making. But if we like Street Fighter or Mega Man, if we just throw those terms, like, will that keep the audience?
If you're watching a gaming podcast. You're listening to a gaming podcast.
Fatality.
Yes, if anybody, so you're basically saying Bubsy 3D is the stuffing for you, and pie is essentially the Mario or the Link level, right?
Right.
And then mashed potatoes is probably Crash Bandicoot.
Mashed potatoes is your Street Fighter right there. It's your mashed potatoes. You got there's a Street Fighter for every generation, right?
Yeah.
Every year we get to enjoy some Street Fighter. Or Master Chief, yes, some Halo.
We have done 102 episodes, most of them Byron Return video game related. And the time we have a gaming industry legend on, you go with mashed potatoes and pie. Todd, you are just a legend.
I figured Victor would appreciate it because he's like, let's mix it up a little bit.
Let's just roll.
Let's stretch the brain and do something. I have to think about I have to think about food. Oh my goodness.
Well, I'm just thinking of the people that have scrubbed forward and land in this part, and they're thinking, I'm listening to the wrong podcast. What the hell happened here?
I think they know
hit the wrong button.
Well, we will bring the people what they want then. We will talk about video games at this segment of what we've been playing. So, Victor, what have you been playing?
Oh man, every freaking thing. This is the time of year, right? Like everything comes out. I'm editing my Sonic Frontiers review, and I know it's late, but it all comes out at the same time. There's one of me.
Mm-hmm.
I've been trying to play through all of this stuff, but I love God of War Ragnarok. I was disappointed with Bayonetta 3. This is all like current right now. Playing a little Pokemon Violet, freaking out playing Miles Morales on PC and Steam Deck again. I can't believe. I'm so happy that PlayStation is making PC games and letting people experience these that don't have the PlayStation, that letting them play these amazing games that they have built for their fans, but now for the world, which is so cool. Sonic Frontiers was terrific. I really loved it. It's warts and all. It's got a lot of really ugly technological bumps to the game. Lots of pop in and draw in, and frame rate and camera issues, and the characters don't look great. But I couldn't stop playing the damn game. It was so addictive. It's so fun. So I guess we go with that. That's what I obsessed over on the weekend, and it was way more entertaining than I thought it was going to be.
So does this like last bastion of all of these games, did they muddy the water in your the water in your head of like what I played in January and all those things? Do you have a way to like get it all together in like some type of like Gantt chart, or how do you get it all together? Like what you love versus technical issues.
There's oh, okay, I see. When I'm putting my reviews together,
yeah.
Well, you know what? I'm one of the few that really loved Gotham Knights, and I know that it has some technical issues and it could run better, it could look better, but I loved the gameplay. I loved the co-op action in the game. I love the characters. I love the lore. I'm a Batman fanatic, so I just thought it was so cool to play as Robin and Batgirl and Nightwing. I'm not a Jason Todd fan, but it was awesome to like explore these characters and cruise around like that. So I think my value and any reviewer's value is to let people know who you are, and then it has to come from the heart. I feel like, we all have these games. We all have games that other people rate high or low, and you feel the way you feel about them, and we can call them guilty pleasures or whatever. But I think people that review the content need to embrace the fact that they aren't completely objective. They have tastes and prejudices and opinions specific to what they're consuming, and that's the job, I think, of the content, of the reviewer, of the content creator, is to let people in on why this thing mattered to you, and less about the feature chase and because there's lots of content that's all what it's all about. But I don't know. I've played 30 frames per second games that I really enjoy. The perfect example is Sonic Frontiers. It's on Switch, and it's a good Switch game. It's better on PlayStation 5 because you can run it at 60 frames per second. But it's pretty freaking cool that you can also play it on Nintendo Switch, especially in handheld mode. And it's a good game. It's not the best game of the year, but it's a good game. And I feel like, part and parcel with our absence of being able to like deal with the people that are building all of this stuff in an interesting way and get to know them as human beings and get to really understand why they work so hard to entertain us with this stuff. We don't really get into those conversations. We're also getting to be a very binary consumer base in video games. It's either it sucks or it's great, or it's perfect or it's terrible. And there's a lot of value in things that are good. And there's a lot of value in stuff that misses its mark too, and where mistakes were made. Like another example is Bayonetta 3. I think that it's a weak sequel to the Bayonetta franchise. It's just I was completely, kind of bored all the way through it. The mechanics are sound and there's lots of great imagination in it, but it felt like they just threw everything into a blender and it just became this loud, monotonous thing by the end of it. Lots of cool things all mixed up, and there was no kind of, graceful leveling of the material. And so when I reviewed it, I was like so disappointed because I love Platinum Games and I love the last two Bayonetta games, but this was a 7 out of 10. It's not a throw out, the game and say it's complete garbage and crap and not worth anybody's time. I know lots of people do love it, but I think it's important to just be you and find what matters for you. And also when you talk about this stuff, I think it should come from more of a place of, how did you feel playing the game? Not, unless you're, Digital Foundry, those guys are all about hitting the frame rates and the technical sort of, and they do an incredible job, a peerless job at doing that dissection. I think it's awesome, but I don't think we should all aspire to do that. I think we should. And you know what? I'm not going to call out that for any other reviewers out there, but the way I feel about it is, through my work, you get to know my thoughts and who I am a little bit. And I want to feel like someone that and you trust the opinion on, even if you disagree with it. And I'm just going to tell you how I feel about it. And that's really important to me. And the people that I've worked with over the years, the other reviewers in our shows, I've kind of tried to convey that to them too. And, because you can read about the features, you can read about the characters and how many players and the online modes and how, the specs, all of that stuff is very clearly laid out there. But what does it mean to play it? How did you feel while you were playing it? Talk about the tactility and the emotions that this stuff brought up. I think that's a better conversation around games and any other media as well, but that's me.
Yep. Did you have fun? That's really what games are supposed to be. Did you have fun, or did you have an enjoyable experience? Maybe you didn't have fun because it's a difficult game, or maybe it's a painful experience 100%. Because like The Last of Us. But still, did it bring out an emotion of you that was not like jaded? Because I think you're absolutely right. I mean, there's people that are just jaded. They bring that sense of like, what's going to be my next game I hate on because it's waiting to come out of everybody these days. So I like to hear that because I have Gotham Knights ready to go, and I've been waiting, but it's been waiting for me because unfortunately you get part of the mind.
The clouds out there. Yep.
It stops you from experiencing a game that you might have said, oh, that kind of looks kind of fun. Like was it Evil West that just is coming out now? That looks like such a cool game. Even at 7, I'm like, that looks like a Todd game because it just looks like dumb fun.
100%, man. And you know what? Like, you can only call them like you see them and how they sort of hit you when you're playing them, and I've had fun with 7 out of 10 games. I've had fun with stuff that's even lower than that. And I've had second opinions and second thoughts about, other games that I have gone back to as well, But yeah, it's really important to kind of scrub all that stuff away. I think when you're, I don't know, conveying how you feel about something and people are taking the time in their busy lives to watch something or listen to something or read something, I think it's so important to personalize it and let people know, a little piece about you and your perspective on all of that stuff. And you can have empirical evidence in your content, but I think what's more valuable is, I don't know, the way that stuff emotionally affected you. I really do.
It's a decent time for me to jump in with the first game I've been playing, which is Pokemon Scarlet, which if you've been following any news or reporting on that, reviews, whatever.
There's another perfect example, right?
Same kind of stuff. Yep. Perfect example of what you're talking about. And it's a technical disaster in a lot of ways. The game crashed on me 3 times, which is one of the only Switch games I can really remember crashing that often. There's pop-in, there's frame rate issues, there's this, there's that. The camera will sometimes go straight through a stage. I haven't experienced this, but I know a couple of people that have the Pokemon, the models and stuff will just kind of clip right through the ground and that kind of shenanigans. And you could pick this apart for those kind of technical things, but I am having the most fun with Pokemon, and that's surprising, I'm sure, for the guy with the Nidoran tattoo, but like whatever. It's like and Nidoran's not even in this game, so I could give it a 0 out of 10 for not having my favorite Pokemon, but I'm not.
It's what really matters.
That's exactly right. Nidoran? No, come on. That's a too much water kind of, that's for anyone that remembers old IGN Pokemon reviews. It's like a real small segment of people listening, I'm sure. But
they complain about too much water.
Yeah, there was I
remember that.
I think that was like a 7 out of 10, or it was like too much water was like the cap line for it. Anyway, that's fine. But this game, there's something about it. The exploration and the Pokemon being in the wild and herds or groups of these Pokemon kind of moving through regardless of what you're doing, and different Pokemon having different reactions. Like a Tauros will just like straight up see you and be like, you and me, we're going like fight. And then like another, like you'll get a Psyduck that just comes over and he's just like derpy, just kind of looking at you like, what are you doing? Hey, bud. Like you do no fight in them whatsoever. You get Magikarp just kind of flip-flopping around, and another fish is just like, I hate you and you are in my territory. Get out of my water.
I've only put a few hours into this thing, but I am really liking it. My daughter's been obsessing with it and loving it. One of the things that I think is cool is you can send your Pokemon out to have battles without you, and you can just keep exploring, which is so freaking amazing.
Mm-hmm.
They don't die, do they? Like, are they smart if they like, I'm losing, I'm coming back?
Well, they'll come back.
They'll come back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Once they start, and that actually happened for me the first time. It was like, the fire starter, I forget what the evolution was called, but like Fuecoco is like out fighting, is like, oh, he got scared and came back kind of thing. It's like, what is this game? Like, why is this in some ways disaster of a game like the most fun I've had? I can't put it down. It's delightful, and I hope that they patch it so more people will feel confident picking it up, my brother included. I can't believe he bailed after getting the special edition OLED Switch. He's playing an OLED Switch with Scarlet and Violet like plastered on the thing and didn't pick up the game. But like he's
because of the tech,
the reviews
comments
and stuff. He's a little bit more frame rate obsessed. He loves that steady frame rate. Doesn't really care if it's 30 or 60. He prefers 60, but as long as it's kind of steady, when he sees that slowdown, it just takes him right out of that experience. And I can respect that. But for me, it's the only times that this game has really felt broken for me is when it just straight up crashes and I'm back at the Switch home screen.
I wonder how much that's from, I'm sure you guys are as much of a lifer in games as I am. You've probably been playing for 20 years or something or more, right? And the stuff we came up with when the industry moved to 3D was freaking terrible. There was so much crap, and we had to invest so much imagination into that content. And yes, we should be well beyond it, but still, in technical terms, but still we had fun with a lot of those games along the way, even if they had all kinds of issues, and I still think there's fun to be had in games that disappoint you technically. But maybe not as long as forever.
I think the only cardinal sin that we rarely forgive is when your save dies.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
That's like the only one that says like, nope, it's that's a no start.
Yeah, or when a game is not fun, and that also
true.
happens.
But this one's so much fun. I love, and that like it made me choke up at a point. Great. I'm not going to get too much into it, but there's a Titan quest fairly early on. I had to give up my dog last year, and my parents, my family dog passed away earlier this year, and there's a bit with a injured, sick kind of dog, and that's as much of I'll spoil for anyone. But I was just sitting there like, I'm not emotionally prepared for any of this in a Pokemon game. Come on, not since Pokemon Blue killed Cubone's mother have I felt this gut punched by digital little pocket monsters. So
that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's a hell of a review right there. That's an incredible, comment about what this game means for you. I think that's incredible. And it's the same thing with God of War Ragnarok. Like, who would have called how emotional that game is? You know, like I got really choked up playing as this murderer and his relationship to his son. It's just it's phenomenal, right? And that's what games have the power to do. They don't always, but they have the power to do with us now, and it's incredible.
On a very, very kind of opposite end of the spectrum, I've been playing CocoMelon Play with JJ, which I got from Outright Games. I have to say, Outright Games, got me on as an ambassador. And I just want to thank Outright Games. So I've been talking about Outright Games for a little bit because they make the Paw Patrol games, and my son's obsessed. So as soon as I saw them on Game Pass, I was like, this is it. My son can see Paw Patrol and video games. We can share this, and it's fantastic. His new obsession is CocoMelon. He sings along to the songs. We watch it all the time. It's like silly little like simple nursery rhymes and everything. And the colors are, if you kind of look into CocoMelon, it's very interesting from a psychological standpoint, because they kind of slow down the frame rate for all of these animations on YouTube and whatever. And everything's very bright and simple and particular and paced in a way that a 2 or 3 year old can follow and can understand. So they seem to put a lot of thought into how they do things. And when you're watching it as an adult, it's like, that kid freaks me out, but kids love it. Right. So it's, and playing this, like we were singing along to Wheels on the Bus and the bedtime songs and all this kind of stuff. And I'm just kind of, guiding through, but he was pressing the buttons for, here we go, Looby Loo, and just seeing his face light up was just amazing. So if you have a kid that's obsessed with CocoMelon, play with JJ on Switch. Worth your while. I'm going to jump into 2 more experiences, and then Todd, I want you to go at it because I can't wait to hear more about God of War. Soccer Story. Absolutely amazing. This was a code that I got from Terminals. That game is so far. I'm pretty early on, so I can't say too much about it. But this is from No More Robots. It's so weird. Like you start off and it's like the cataclysm happened and you can't play soccer anymore, and you have to find a team to play soccer because a magical soccer ball found you and it chose you, and it's like RPG elements and this weird kind of crazy RPG story built around soccer.
Is it the same team as Golf Story?
I think so.
Yeah. Okay.
It's I want to say not actually. But it's very similar. I was looking at this one. It's on Game Pass now. Actually, just dropped.
Awesome.
It's a different team because the team that's making Golf Story is making Sports Story, which is coming out on Switch in December. But this one looks a little bit more, 16-bit mark, or is it a little bit better than that?
No, it's pretty 16-bit. Yeah, it's a tiny visual upgrade from Golf Story, but very similar. Like you can just drop your soccer ball anywhere, and there's a lot of the world to interact with, and it's bringing up very similar vibes, which is why I kind of thought it was the same team when Victor brought that up.
I got to check this out.
It's really cool. And now that it's on Game Pass, even better for anyone that subscribes. And I'll have more to talk about that one on the next episode after I kind of complete that game. So it'll be a little later and it'll be already available. So you might play it before I finish it, but there we go. I just wanted to mention that one. And of course, thank Terminals for sending that one over. The last one, I'm going to say Forever or ForeVR. They just dropped a pool game for Quest 2. And they somehow find this perfect mix of realistic pool and arcade VR pool that is delightful. I only almost fell through the table once or twice, maybe, because you kind of want to lean down, but there's no table in front of you because I'm standing in my living room like an idiot wearing these glasses, and I did catch myself like almost falling a couple of times. But other than that, it is really cool. If you've played any of the like darts, bowling, cornhole, any of these kind of VR games, you kind of know the quality that this team puts into stuff, and it's a really cool experience. Like I want my dad to play this, and he's not really like a video game guy or a VR guy by any means, but like the mechanics are there. They're really sound. They're really easy to understand, and it's very immersive. You can play online. There's like YouTube music that you can change the playlist and like kind of play it how you want to. So it's like, it's a really cool experience. And I've been really digging the VR pool. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. If you can't get out to a real billiards, this is the next best thing if you have a Quest.
Can you break the queue and then beat somebody up at the bar with it? That's all I want to know.
I haven't tried that. I'm going to. That's not the Canadian way, Todd. We just say sorry and buy a beer.
Really?
But I will try to go a little violent next time I'm playing. But yeah, that would be interesting. No, yeah. Aside from falling through the table, that's the only.
There is that VR brawler that Twisted Pixel made. I can't remember the name of it, but it was like Street Fighter in VR. Cool. Yeah, it was pretty cool. Yeah, it's like I can't remember Super Punch VR. I don't know what the hell it's called.
There's I have a boxing.
Is there bar fight?
Yeah, there's a it's like bar fight or drunken bar fight. I've never played that one, but I've seen it advertised a couple of times.
Goggles.
I did play a boxing game that was quite good. It was very.
There's the Apollo one, isn't there? Apollo Creed VR.
There is a Creed VR game.
Yeah.
I didn't play that one. I played another that was on sale, and it's very kind of like Punch Out esque.
It could work out.
You're there, right? It's interesting. VR is such a weird, interesting kind of landscape because you get these weird, wacky little things, and then like super well developed things like Moss and Resident Evil like up here, and then you get these experimental like weird little titles from indie devs, and it's such a cool space. I love it.
Yeah, I don't even know if like Quest has a like quality seal of approval on games. I don't know anything about that.
The lab, and you kind of have to go through labs. I'm sure they have some semblance of something, but like, I don't know.
Well, Meta's been spending the most in that space, right? Like they have like 6 or 7 excellent studios. I actually just interviewed Ryan Payton, who runs Camouflage, who did the cool. Iron Man game. I haven't put that together on our channel yet, but it's a great convo. We spent an hour talking about working on the game and bringing it and porting it from PlayStation VR to Quest, but we also talked about the PSVR 2 and what VR needs in order to reach more people. And I think Iron Man is a huge component in that. Star Wars Squadrons is a huge component in that. I think your discussion right there about the quality, variance that people find when they go on. I love that the community that's into VR is open to it all, and encouraging to the developers. But it's such a nascent, burgeoning technology, and I think Meta is the furthest along, that it needs those hits, man. And it needs those things that people are familiar with that extend the ideas that VR can deliver out a little more. Because I feel like there is a similarity to experience. And even though we do a lot of the same types of things in flat screen games, especially if we've been playing for a long time, like all three of us have, I think it's more pronounced when you do the same types of thing in VR. Like if you're doing the bow and arrow thing across 7 different games, even if there's slight nuances, and it's still going to feel like we're always doing the bow and arrow thing, and now that Beat Saber's cornered the market with that rhythm type thing, and what's the shooting one? I always forget the sort of
pistol
dance.
Whip? Pistol Whip?
Yeah, Pistol Whip. Yeah, those are seminal. Those are incredible, but it's pretty hard to play in that category and compete with those guys because they're so damn good, and so I think VR needs those. It needs those brands, those concepts. Like Resident Evil was amazing, and the maturity in Moss and Lucky's Tale, like the tuned design philosophies that are apparent when you play those games. That's what I think really. It's either where people are familiar with the characters or the worlds that they're being served up in VR. Like The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners is really good as well. or they have to have like super polished mechanics that are familiar as well. So there has to be, I think, an element of familiarity in VR now to kind of really get to the next level. And PlayStation might be the way that starts to happen, right? Because they have all of these brands that they can lean on. I'm just curious to see what Sony's really going to invest in. Like getting the hardware out there is one thing, but the consistency and the economy of paying for these expensive games from these expensive studios to keep that flow needs to keep coming. And it didn't happen with PSVR. It didn't happen with Vita. And I just want to see Sony really commit, but it's a two-way street, right? People have to go and support the idea and pick up the hardware, which is not cheap. But in terms of brands and characters and worlds and gameplay mechanics and ideas that will sell VR the best, I think the PlayStation library of concepts and all of these developers that they have at their disposal could be really, really impressive. But then anything that they do, Meta can also, meet with dollars or buy studios or whatever. I hate that we're in a console war in VR. I hate that.
Yeah.
I think it's so reductive and stupid.
Yeah.
That shouldn't be happening.
Yeah. I would love it if Sony partnered with Steam. And I know they've got the high end index, but being able to connect a PSVR 2 to your PC and being able to access that library would bring in so many people. Like, I don't think everyone wants to pay $1,200 for a Valve Index, but I bet a lot of PC gamers would love a high quality headset to plug into their PC and just make it work.
It's pretty expensive, that PSVR. Like, if we're not too far away from that Valve Index, like it's really interesting. Like, we all know it can be this next level of engagement and immersion, but there's a lot of prohibitive elements and decisions. All the while, though, there are millions of people that are being entertained and studios that are selling a lot of copies of software. And I love jumping in and tooling around and trying out a bunch of things, but I just don't see enough consistently in VR that I'm there all the time right now. That might change next year, but right now I just don't, But yeah, I love too when I put on the Quest 2, that's because that's usually the only thing that I have some of the other sets, but the Quest 2 is just so comfortable and easy and so straightforward, right? You put it on and you're lost in something. But I love that, like, what have they been working on? That surprise, like, entertain me, video game or VR gaming industry. Let's see what you got, And I like that surprise. I think last year was more impressive though with like Resident Evil 4 was so damn good. Although Iron Man VR on Quest is excellent. I don't know if you guys have played that yet. It's so good.
My friend loves it on PSVR, and I can only imagine being untethered doing those type of things would be amazing.
Yeah, it's really good. Word is, and it's rumor, and I hate to speculate. Ryan's a friend of mine, but the leaks are out there, and he wouldn't tell me what they're working on next when I interviewed him. But the leaks, you guys might know, but the leak is that they're working on a Batman game. So
I just want them to bring over the existing Batman game, like just
Arkham
put that
VR?
on Quest. I'm happy. Yeah, like I mean, if they do something more, but like just put that on Quest as a little teaser, a little palate cleanser, kind of something or other, like a little like here's Batman on Quest. That'd be neat.
Isn't it on Quest? It's still not on Quest.
No, it's still locked to PSVR.
What,
it might be
really?
on Steam,
it's on
though.
PC, I would
Steam.
imagine. Yeah, and then you can see. This is the thing, right? Like, it just should be so damn simple. It should be so easy. And even Quest, if people wanted to play on PC, you can do the Quest link and you can wirelessly connect. But it should be so easy, and it's totally not. It is totally not. It's easy as hell to put the thing on your head and get into a game, but it's not easy to put it on and connect it to your PC and get lost in a game. It's like picking up the thing, looking at the monitor, put the thing back on. Is that working? No, pick it up. No, is that working?
Do you have a bad connection?
Yeah,
is it
totally.
Connected? Yeah,
like, that, totally kills it. Anyways, what have you been playing, Todd?
and I think you talk about with children being involved. We all have children, and I only have one PlayStation 5, surprisingly enough.
Yeah.
And my son
Only
and I,
one.
only one. Yeah, I know. Long story, I used to own like 8 of them, but no. Yeah, my son is not your traditional gamer. He gets into a game and just plays into it. He's been playing Terraria for like nonstop for the last 4 months. We just built a brand new PC for him. That's what he's playing on, Terraria. I'm like, you could be playing anything, and that's what game you're playing. But for some
Terraria is
reason,
literally like on your phone.
I know.
That's
It's
amazing.
just his
my
mindset.
daughter's all about House Flipper, man. She plays House Flipper like she's like a future real estate broker, or a contractor or something. She just loves that stuff. Yeah, I know.
Well,
I feel
it
you.
gives her some skills, right? You're like, okay,
Oh,
great.
she loves designing. That's her thing. She's an
that's
artist,
awesome.
so she loves to build inside. So I totally get you on the Terraria there.
Well, my son saw me playing God of War, Ragnarok,
Yep.
and he was like, and I told him, like, you should play the original God of War. We have it. And no, my son is contrarian. He's like, no, I'm going to jump right into Ragnarok. I'm like, no, what are you doing?
This is what happens at 16, right? You cannot suggest anything.
No.
They're going to make up their own mind. Yeah.
Never seen a Marvel movie. Let's start with Endgame.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Let's see. Oh, wasn't that great? I didn't know what happened, but wasn't that great? So I think he might have watched like the little snapshot at the beginning, which is nice that they actually offer it right there. It just says, previously on, which is great.
So I'm wondering if he's identifying with Atreus and his viewpoint.
Definitely. I mean, he said
because Atreus is right. Yes, which we don't even consider, right? Us 3 old dads. But yeah, I'm curious if the teenagers are like, yeah, I don't get along with my dad either, and this is what every discussion is.
He's telling me what to do.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah, and this game does feature Atreus more prominently and playably, which I think is a great introduction. Hopefully, it's no spoilers, but it is a great dichotomy of seeing it from both characters' lens this time, which is great.
Yeah.
And I'm past the part, and there's a part that everyone's talked about where the game kind of slows down, where you meet a yak. That's all I'm going to say. You meet a yak. Yeah. And while I do admit it has different pacing, it brings a lot of value to the story, introduces another character, which I think creates a great relationship for someone when you realize Atreus hasn't had any relationships beyond being around people and almost dying and losing everyone, to see like he's never had someone his own age. And I think that's a great addition. Yes, it does slow things down, but it gets you back into things. And I have not gotten yet to a part where I've heard rumors there's an extra weapon. I haven't got to that weapon yet, but I'm just loving it. And my son's giving me hints and tips. He's a much better gamer than I am, but he's giving me hints and tips about, oh, Dad, you should invest in this. Oh, have you gotten to that part, Dad? Well, go do this side quest. It's of value. So I'm like, it's great that my son can guide me now versus me being like, do this, do that. And it's a nice collaborative experience. And we get to talk about our experience together as we're playing it. And it's been really rewarding.
That's awesome. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The DualSense is phenomenal. And that's one of my favorite things about the PlayStation with the PlayStation 5. Essentially, I don't think the boxes are that exciting as they once were to us. I mean, they look great, they play great, but now with the DualSense, what it's bringing to the extra level of immersion, I love it. I want everybody to bring out a controller that does that. I know Nintendo tried that with the Ultra Shake or whatever it was called, but they really haven't really utilized it with the speaker and all these different elements. It's great. I really enjoy it, and that's going to be in PlayStation VR 2 is the DualSense features. So talk about being immersed and having that extra sense, I think is a great addition as well. I'm assuming Quest will probably do something like that too. And then
as they iterate, the DualSense is going to inspire so much competition and copying. Well, I actually have a Razer pair of PlayStation branded or PlayStation licensed or something, connected to the PlayStation, headphones that have haptic feedback in them. And I don't know
really
if you guys have ever had
No.
headphones with haptic. It blew my freaking mind, literally. Like I was playing Sifu and I was in the club and it was going boom, boom, boom. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, this is ridiculous. This is so freaking awesome. I couldn't believe it. But like I was surrounded by these, it was subtle, but it was just surrounded by all of these beats and bumps by the technology on me. It was great.
I love that.
Yeah. You know what's cool about God of War 2 or God of War Ragnarok? Which, it's going to have some haptic feedback. But God of War Ragnarok is going to give you, because it's thrilling and like tactile and just wonderful to get lost in the combat and the puzzle solving and everything. But I think what is most shocking about the game is its emotional journey. And that I think that's what resonates with this game. And it's surprising as hell, because we all played the original PlayStation 2 God of War trilogy and PlayStation 3. Those were excellent games, but they didn't really, they had some tragedy in them, but it was all so grandiose and crazy. But this is so personal. And I don't want to spoil anything for you, but it is so it's so profound, and I cannot believe that's where games are. I can't believe that we have, and PlayStation's been a big purveyor of that. That's why I'm so excited that they are putting those games on the PC. Like Uncharted is a real journey, and Last of Us for sure is a crazy real journey. And Days Gone. They pumped a lot of money into Kojima's game. What the hell? What's it called? Death Stranding. Weird, but also emotional. And it is amazing that a lot of these single player story experiences, including the chaos of God of War, is so palpably emotional and touching and so well rendered. And I won't say more, but it's really cool. It really got me. It
definitely does. There's little moments. There's one where Kratos, you can see his growth, obviously, but there's one point where he's arguing with Atreus, and you just see the one moment he is like, he's so mad and he's trying to restrain himself because he wants to do something like angry, and he holds himself back. And that is, talk about
amazing.
Growth. I mean,
amazing.
We've come a long ways from the old days of the PS2 games with the sex minigame. So
totally,
we probably don't need to go back there.
Well, we needed it at the time, We needed to push and those games. That's what they were doing. They were just sort of testing how mature they could get, and now the maturity is in how sensitive these characters can be, And what I'm blown away with God of War Ragnarok is the complexity of the Kratos model embodied by Chris Judge's performance, but also what Sony Santa Monica did to kind of create the sparkles in his eyes and like you feel every goddamn wrinkle on his face, just know how he earned every scar and wrinkle. And he's heartbreaking. He's just a heartbreaking character. And God, it's so good, man. I don't want to say more because you guys have you played it yet, Mark? Have you beaten it or are you? No? Oh man.
Mark hasn't even played the 2018. I get on.
Oh wow. Oh yeah.
Brothers,
do you have a PlayStation 5?
PS4?
I don't have a PS5. No, I'm going to steal my brother's PS5 and play him.
Yeah. They're still hard to get. Yeah, you definitely want to do that. And you definitely want to play the Last of Us games, even though they're going to take you on a torturous, harrowing journey.
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah.
Did you
I
play
played
the
Last
second
of Us,
one?
I played Uncharted. Love Uncharted. I have not played the second Last of Us. No.
You should definitely play that. It's again, talk about maturity and pushing boundaries, and not everybody likes it, and I totally understand. But God, I mean, talk about risk taking and pushing forward on what narrative in this medium can do. Incredible. And anyways, hype. It's all good.
I would recommend one piece of media that even if you don't play the game, I mean, it might have some spoilers, but it's essentially I think it's called The God of Wars. Gods of War, maybe, but it's all of the different voice actors Sony employed to play Kratos from Japan, from I forgot what other countries, but it's amazing. And you just see them talk, and they talk about how much they've been inspired by the American version, but also to say, we're not going to do the same thing, which is very hard because I don't know if they have to redub, because Chris Judge with all the motion capture and everything like that, to then say, okay, now you just need to replicate what he did. It was amazing. I just really appreciate what they've done to make games for the audience they're for. So it's great. Check it out if you get a chance. But I did want to get something less deep, and Mark actually got this code for me, and it was meant for Logan, but I wanted to try this one out just to see something a little lighter fare. And it's a game called RWBY Arrowfell, and this is and I just want to make sure I've got it right. Rooster Teeth Games. Rooster Teeth, just to make the red versus blue. Now they're publishing games. They actually make the anime for this too. It's called RWBY, and essentially it's just this group of 4 characters that their names are all like RWBY, each initial. So it's RWBY. And they're like hunters. I mean, they have special abilities and things. It's an anime-esque game. And the developers are actually WayForward and Arc System Works, which is WayForward we love because they make really fun, awesome games. But Arc System Works typically makes like Guilty Gear, like fighting games. So I'm like, this has got some talent behind it. And it's a very cool little, and this is why I'm bringing up Castlevania in a second, is this is a Castlevania, not a Metroidvania, a Castlevania game. There's no backtracking, there's no maps, but you are going through that action combat platforming. There's a boss. You have cut scenes with the anime, and you do have leveling up, and it's apparently canonical too. And then it's
called RWBY.
RWBY Arrowfell.
RWBY
spelled RWBY though.
Yeah, and it's on the Switch.
I haven't seen this. That sounds
they're
awesome.
All 4 female protagonists. There is voice acting in it during the cutscenes. In the actual, I guess you would just say when you're talking to other characters, when you're on the main mission maps and things like that, it's more of that, and then you have to read it. So it's very much like a lot of those Japanese games that you see, but it's really well done. It's definitely, I think the fact that this is definitely fan service for the fans, but I think there's something there for anybody to play it just from the gameplay perspective. But if you like the anime, I think you'll be really pleasantly surprised. There's a lot of quality in this game, and the rocking anime songs, it's like that hard rock, and it's like, it's crazy because it's like, oh, I guess I've got this song for the whole game. So if you like that, I think you'll love it.
I love those guys. Yeah. That's awesome.
It's great. This was a hard code to give up, to be honest. Like I got, like I said, I got Soccer Story and like ForeVR Pool, CocoMelon. Like I had all these like kind of codes coming at me, and then I kind of knew Logan liked anime more. But once I saw this was like key members of the Shantae team, and I like love me some Shantae games. It was just like, all right, fine, I'm gonna give this one to Todd. Like, but it was as soon as I saw that,
play right away. But he said, "Dad, I'm playing God of War right now."
Right? Yeah. So I'm glad, but I'm really glad you gave it a shot too, because like I knew you weren't familiar with it either. So we were both kind of coming from it like, what is this? But really great team behind it and looked kind of cool. So I'm really glad that you kind of gave it a shot and gave your impressions too. That's awesome.
There is one caveat. You can switch between each of the 4 characters, but you share one life, meaning like you have 3 hearts. If your health depletes, you lose a heart, which is essentially life. So, but there's plenty of save states, which is great. So it's not really punishing, but it is, and they each have ability that will help you do something, which is kind of cool. It takes in that mechanic of like, complementary gameplay between the characters. So I like that. If you like a character a lot, you may have to stop playing that character because you need a specific skill or ability. So I think it brings enough variety. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So if you're looking for an anime type game, I think that's one to check out. So once again, thank you for the code, Mark. I appreciate your sacrifice.
Thanks to WayForward, man. They're amazing and always good to support the show. And I'm always happy to see emails come from that team. So thanks to them.
Yeah, and that just led me lastly to the Castlevania Advanced Collection. I got it on Switch. It's been on sale for Black Friday, and it made me nostalgic for those games that were on the GBA. So Konami was on a tear with Castlevania at the time, and unfortunately, I could not play them in the greatest way because the GBA had no backlit screen. And those games, notoriously, I don't know if they had an issue with brightness, so they never looked great until like the SP came out. And so because I only had the original GBA, I didn't have that. So it was great to play these games on a fantastic screen with like the OLED and have modern conveniences like save states. And with a little bit of a history, you could choose which version you wanted to play, American, Japanese, and I can't remember the other. Plus, there was the soundtrack list, and also the Rondo of Blood game, which was for a long time was hard to find, and it was much like a 16-bit version of the original Castlevania, but I think it's canonical as well. But it's great. It's on sale. Definitely check it out. I'm glad this came out. I'd love to see more of these collections come out from games from the GBA days. So, but I think it was like $11. So definitely well worth buying.
That's amazing.
Can't beat that.
That's awesome. Cost you way more for just one of those cartridges.
Oh, I know. If you wanted to buy them now, like Mark,
yeah.
I'm sure you're going to eventually want to rebuy all your games on the original hardware. Yeah. Box
Luckily, I still have a couple of those Castlevania games for the GBA SP, but it's so good to have them all in a collection. And like you said, even the SP screen, which was backlit, wasn't backlit like we think
wasn't
now,
an OLED
right backlit screen. It wasn't, yeah, right. So like playing them now, like that's the way to play them. Like you're seeing stuff that you couldn't even on the best backlit.
I flipped
GBA
out
screen.
when I reviewed those, and that's an excellent pickup. Yeah, these collections are so valuable and so important. And Konami's been doing some good things. Like you guys pick up the Cowabunga collection, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
I got to play it. Yeah, I got to play it. It was amazing how much good stuff is in there.
That's incredible. Yeah. So more like that, Konami. Keep going.
Yes.
They may not make new games, but they are doing a great job of collecting their old games, which is fantastic.
Yep.
Well, we are done talking about playing games now. So, Mark, why don't you tell us a little bit about our sponsors today?
Sure. Support for this show and the whole Secret Friends Unite network is brought to you by Manscaped, which is the best in men's below the waist grooming. I say men's in there, but it's good for women too. They just released a study that showed like comparisons to other women's products and all that kind of stuff. So let's just say best in below the waist grooming and leave it at that, I guess. But their products are precision engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped's Performance Package, which the Secret Friends hosts all received, is the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. You can join over 6 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with an exclusive offer for Secret Friends Unite. 20% off, free worldwide shipping with the code SFU at manscaped.com. It also works on manscaped.ca. I heard from a friend today that got the package and absolutely loves it. Weirdly, it was super weird to like get an underwear review from a dude I used to work with, but like that's my life right now. But I really love these products. It's we've talked about it a few times on the show. Todd's keeping his head nice and clean with that one. It's
you guys have your own Manscapes, though, right? You have your own. You don't share your Manscape with Todd.
No, that would be a little too close.
No. All right. Okay.
Yeah, pass over the Manscaped, Todd. That's it. That is the secret. Secret Friends Unite. That is our secret. We mail one Manscaped back and forth. It's like, I need it next Friday. I got to shave my back. Man. And Todd's like, no, I'm using it next Friday. You can have it Saturday.
For some reason, we planned this wrong and we didn't realize how much postage was.
That's it.
Yes. Things got weird on this podcast. Things got
a little bit weird, a little bit personal. But that's 20% off and free worldwide shipping. Use the code SFU at manscaped.com or .ca. Thank you once again to Manscaped for sponsoring Secret Friends Unite.
Check your mail for a package for your package.
Yes.
Victor's still on the podcast, so that's a good sign.
He's still here.
I'm here. I'm just a little more uncomfortable, but that's okay. I'm here.
Perfect. That's what we do.
Perfect. Yeah. That's what we strive for.
With or without the Manscaped. That's
Exactly. Well, very, very quickly, I know everyone's time is valuable, so we are just going to go over something very quickly, which is annual awards. So, Victor, you have your annual awards coming up in January. the rockets and
Yep.
ray guns, which is a
Yep.
great just the way you do it with you bring on people, you have your own selections, but you bring on other people to say why they loved games and their own takes on it. So in regards to your process, where you're at, are you expecting to do the same thing this year? Are you making some changes for 2022?
I'm going to make some changes, and I don't know what they are yet, but I like to mix it up. That's one of the things about, I've been doing this for a long time, right? And so I like to kind of challenge myself and come up with new approaches. And I also I have to be honest, I have been thinking about the way that we award games, whether they're the best, how we stack them against each other. I'm starting to really, it's so much of my makeup because of how we have always talked about games. When I was an avid collector of all the magazines, it was always this competition between these things. And we've done the Rocket and Ray Guns for decades now, and EP's done awards for a long time. And I like the celebration of it all. But I don't know. I'm still, that was part of my decision to move it from the end of December, because usually what I've been able to do, either with the team or with collaborators and people jumping in with their thoughts, is assemble everything just before the holiday break, and it's a crunch kind of final week. But this year there were two things. I'm starting to think, what is a different approach that we can take? And I've done different things over the years. Like we did a round robin kind of tournament where I posted a bunch of games up on Twitter and people were voting, and it was totally unfair what was being pitted against. But awards are unfair, they're just unfair. It's just silly to say this game is better than that game. And then I think the other part of the equation is that it's so much about God of War and Elden Ring. It feels like they're just so ubiquitous, and so it's just so logical to make a choice about either one of those two. And maybe that's part of it too, when the competition is just not that interesting because it's so easy to define, the contenders, and there aren't really more of them that can kind of stack up at that level. Maybe there's a new way to think about it. So I've been thinking about that. I've been thinking about the who's sort of in the competition for the best game of the year. And then, of course, the games industry likes to push ever closer every year to actually delivering a game on Christmas Day, And so we've got all these games that are launching now. And I should be getting a code for Callisto very soon. And the new Need for Speed is coming, and the Midnight Suns game. These are huge games. And I just I didn't want to get them, try to cram them into my brain, and then how do I figure out? And then I know that not everybody I'm going to ask because they're going to even have time to even look at some of this stuff. So I thought, let's just relax. Let's take a breath. Let's use the rest of the holiday. Let's go back in through the year and find those little gems, and let's find a way to talk about all of this stuff, But I have really been grateful, and I've had a lot of fun reaching out to the community and asking different people with different voices to kind of give me their perspective and shoot these little videos. I think it's a lot of work, but it's a really fun thing to work on, and it's really rewarding to share that, because what we used to have with the show is all of these disparate voices and a team. And I thought that I think that was a very special way to make content around this, where we'd have 8 of us wrap up the year and do these awards together, and people would get all of these different viewpoints. But of course, the world is different, and I don't have that team at my disposal. And most of those people don't have the time, because they're working in different things now. They don't have the time to play everything. That's the other thing too, is that not many people have the time to play the wide spectrum of stuff, And in media, that's even true right now. I don't think there's a lot of people that are actually reviewing stuff and trying as many things as I try throughout the year. And I'm cognizant of that. So I've really enjoyed reaching out and getting all those different perspectives, and I've learned a lot. I know our viewers have learned a lot. I like that. So I think I'll probably keep some of that, but I'm still figuring out what I'm going to do in January. But I'm going to come back from the holiday break, and that'll be the first thing that I work on. So Stay tuned.
Very cool. Yeah, we're looking forward to it. That's going to be awesome. I always love. I never know who I'm going to see on your award show pop up and give their thoughts on something, which absolutely love.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, funny thing is, like, when we started, the thing about Electric Playground, and I want people to kind of recognize this, it was very important to me that game developers liked the show. And I would, like, in that first season, I was meeting all these people and coercing them to be in front of the camera. Many of them had never been interviewed on TV before, and they didn't know what to do. And there was not this sort of really heavily orchestrated media training, and people said silly things or did silly things, but it was honest and it was real, and they did play with us. But one of the things that we did, even like and I don't know if you can see this on the Internet Archive or not. I don't have a web team to make the website that we used to make, but right in the beginning days of Electric Playground, we were on the web in 1995. But that first year, that second year, I was reaching out across the community, and I would ask developers, game makers, to send me what they wanted for Christmas. And we used to do this big holiday,
That's awesome.
Feature every year, and we'd get like Dear Santa letters from each of these game, like Ed Boon and David Perry and all kinds of different people across the video game industry, writing what they would, what from games they would like to receive from Santa Claus. And I really miss that, and I know that what's different now is all of these studios are so policed, and there's so many layers of approval that have to happen before, I get video content or textual content. But I miss that, man. I miss that sense of community. There is some, for sure. It's not like everybody's in total different silos or whatever, but it's different. It's different now. There's a lot more sensitivity and a lot of people being protective and thinking about the repercussions of saying anything and it's just a different world. It just is.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a couple questions in regards to annual awards. And this is abroad for all of us. In your opinion, should game awards emulate other award like Emmys, Oscars, Grammys? Should they try to be that, or is gaming too broad that it's just not even possible to do what they do right? And another question would be, a follow-up with that would be, and if will audience show up if there's not trailers? Is there enough there on the bone just to celebrate games of what it is and see people get recognized and see the people we love who made the games show up? Is that possible, or is it just a deal with the devil to get eyeballs in place?
Well, Jeff's show is much more than just honoring what has come before. And it's really a divining rod to the medium in general, and he has had the wherewithal and the vision to kind of see the opportunities that platform allows for. But there is absolutely a concerted effort on his part to bring as many media expanding contributors and partners to the table as possible. And so it's been important for him to reach out to music acts and celebrities and stuff to bring them on board and to be ambassadors really for games. And it's worked, and the show, Jeff has come from a similar place as I have. He's another Canadian that worked his way into the gaming industry in a very cool way, and he knows everybody across the space, and he genuinely loves the industry and the people in it, and he wants to celebrate and honor all of this work. But he also is a smart business person that really appreciates that he can do even more for the video game industry if more eyeballs and more people are talking about it. And I see a great value in what he's doing. And honestly, we did the same thing with our TV shows. We talked to lots and lots of famous people. And what we did when we went daily is we really expanded to talking about movies and TV shows and things that we knew players would dig. And the thought that we had, and I think that Jeff has, is that these this rising tide is going to raise all the boats, and everybody's going to tune in for all that. And people would watch our stories on the MCU taking shape back in 2008 and the first Iron Man movie coming out. And then we'd have a piece on Halo, or we'd have a piece on, whatever was being worked on. And it was amazing. And we didn't know that because we'd come from just games. And then we shifted to more because we were making a show every day. And we saw it. It worked. And I think it's worked really well for, the awards. In terms of the way that awards, I feel like there will come a pivot point with Jeff's awards, with any kind of an award. And we actually, I created co-created the Canadian Video Game Awards in Canada, and we ran that for a bunch of years. But my thinking when we built it is, and it's not, I really didn't want to step too far down the road with the pageantry and the expense and the pressure of trying to put all of that together the way that, he spends almost a year putting that show together. It's a tremendous amount of work. And we couldn't do that. We were making TV shows, and a Canadian focused award show was never going to draw it. It's going to draw a small percentage of what his international award show is going to do. But what I really wanted to do with our award show, and I kind of hope that this starts to happen with Jeff's award show, is really focus it on just the gaming space, And so I partnered a lot of hosts that were like, we had David Hayter host the awards, we had Elias Tefexis, we had Mark Meir, and we went to the community. And so these were actors, but these were actors that were working all the time in this space. Like Roger Craig Smith came up to our Toronto show, the guy that voiced Ezio Auditore and Sonic the Hedgehog. And so what we would do is we would partner for the presenters is we would partner a voice actor or a performance person with a developer. And so they were always sharing the stage together and going out there to present the awards together. And it was only awards. There might have been a few commercial type things scattered through or sponsor type things, but it was really about just the awards that night. Games still have a way to go, though. It's not the vernacular. It's not the cultural water cooler discussion that other media is. Like we're not Taylor Swift. Maybe in terms of an overall amount of money that comes from the release of Red Dead Redemption or Grand Theft Auto or Halo or something, that's staggering to a lot of people. But in terms of the amount of people that will be plugged in to that experience, we're not at that, Marvel MCU world level yet. That's tons of people, not just billions of dollars. It's just lots of people. And games, when in totality, do that, but that's including, Overwatch and all the other free to play stuff, and the mobile guys playing Marvel Snap and every single thing out there. There's very few brands across gaming that they're getting there, but they're not reaching the upper echelon of zeitgeist media. They're getting there, and I hope that pivot point will come for Jeff's awards and all other awards out there, where it's really just about. But you know what? Like, it's all grist for the mill, anyways. Like we're all taking influence from other media work, and people that are making movies are huge fans of video games. Like the Last of Us TV show might be incredible. We might actually get one of these game-related shows and movies that freaking blows our minds, like the superhero stuff has done for the comic book space. But those will be bigger than the games. They just will. They're just they're gonna reach more people, but maybe not forever, and maybe that's what Zuckerberg and some of the other metaverse chasers are all kind of banking on, because, they're building it on the backs of 50 years of game making. All of that stuff is, and movies are using Epic's Unreal Engine and the Mandalorian, like they're using the tools from games to make our linear content. That singularity crossing over threshold thing might be happening, and the awards will evolve for that too. But the trailers are cool. I like the trailers. Do you guys like the trailers?
They are,
They're cool.
of
Yeah,
course.
that's it. Yeah, it's tough, right? Because like, especially with games, because like you said, it's tough to play everything. It's tough to keep up with everything. And people
Yeah.
play, it's not like people don't watch movies at different speeds. Like you might not consume every movie, but like a 2-hour movie is, you sit there and for the most part you can kind of watch it for 2 hours.
Yes.
But like
Yes.
Todd's experience with Assassin's Creed might be very different from mine, where Todd golden paths a game and I like ADHD my
Very
way
good point.
through
Yes.
700 side quests. So, if I spend 200 hours in a game and I'm like, that was a 10 out of 10, that consumed my life. And Todd's like, dude, I beat that in 20 hours. What are you talking about? Like it's
Very good
very
point.
different
Yeah.
from, versus like a 2 hour, like there's the movie, it's contained. It's and you might watch it and get different things from a movie or see different subtleties or pick up on, different cues that way. But gaming is such an interactive medium as well. So it's
Mhm.
hard for people to not only fit everything in, but also fit that experience in a way that you can tangibly say like, yes, this was the best because of this reason, or what makes the best. Is it I had the
Yeah.
most fun with this, or it was the best on a technical achievement level. So it's
Yeah, and even if you
it's tough.
hours to hours, you could kind of compare it to the television space where you have to have these seasons of programs that last many, many hours. But I think even in that space, people could just watch one show, one episode, and make a judgment
Mhm.
call on it. But it's very hard to do that in a game, isn't it? Like if you only give a game 2 hours,
Mhm.
there's nothing. You don't have insight
Sometimes
on
you're
that
not through
game.
the tutorial.
No.
Yeah,
Whereas other
yeah,
games, you're like, Donut
yeah.
County was like, I'll run through that game on, an afternoon or an evening just because I want to have a laugh at a donut that's causing havoc with holes in the ground. Like just
Yes.
like
Yeah.
it's such a weird space. But I mean,
And hence
talking your,
my dilemma, like reconciling what the hell I'm going to do for a new Rocket and Ray Gun award show next year. And I've
Exactly.
done this thing for
right.
so many years. It's like, how do I make this fresh? And and it's very unique, this business.
Mhm.
It's better than everything else. And you guys know
Yeah.
that. Like
Yeah.
I was more emotionally affected by God of War than anything else I have watched, I think, this year or played or consumed or anything. And that's only going to keep happening, more and more and more. And we all know that, and we've been living on the potential, but that potential is about to be realized in some really, really significant ways. I mean, look at this generation already, like the ease of use and the being able to jump into this content. It's not like the content made this unfathomable leap into a new space in interactive
Mhm.
experience that we couldn't even imagine. But the ease to jump into these massive experiences is pretty profound. And this next threshold that we're about to cross, like they're going to tease the PS6 in the next year or two, we're going to, and it won't be the features, it will be the emotional ride that these features will allow us to go on, and that's what's freaking me out. That's, then the rest of the world is going to wake up. It's going to be, I've been saying this for 25 years, but it's going to be like you can't refute it. It's so, like, games are so important to experience, like if you enjoy storytelling, if you like enjoy getting lost in a tale, you're the hero and the director of your tale, go.
Mhm.
And once people really clue into that, and you know I admire VR and I admire this idea of the metaverse and all that stuff, but the fidelity that we're at in flat screen right now is just so incredible. It's so good. And
Mhm.
I don't want I don't want the metaverse to be the way that most people sort of have this profound realization, with their chonky Wii visuals. I want them to, I want people that have never played a game before to sit down in front of God of War and go, holy shit, that's what games look like, like that's or Spider-Man. Spider-Man is that great equalizer. Like that, I've been saying
Yes.
this since Marvel's Spider-Man
I
came out. It's like,
I love the first
yeah,
Marvel Spider-Man. It's Miles
yeah,
Morales. Some of the
they're
best. Some of some of these stories are better than the comics and better than the movies. And I've read lots of comics.
big time, right? And so, like, put a controller in front of anybody that has gone to a Marvel movie, which is what 40% of Earth,
Everybody, yeah.
and have never played a game before, and let them play Spider-Man. Like, their head is going to explode. It's so like it's amazing for us, and we've been paying attention. If you have not paid attention, and this is the first thing that you play, like I'm so envious, like and that's what I want the games industry to do as well, right? That's why a lot of this streaming tech and the sort of breaking down the doorways and the pathways to get to this content. I like that this is happening. It's not ideal, but I don't think the games industry could convince. They can't make enough PlayStation 5s to anyways, or Xbox Series X to sell them to everybody. They can't make them, or Switches. So why don't we get them to people easier, right? Like the industry can't sell this stuff fast enough to grow quickly, but they have other ways now that people can access this material, and that's exciting to me, Yeah. And I guess the metaverse will include this as well, right? It will just be a TV inside of your headset, but you'll be playing at this fidelity, right? I just don't want that terrible, Mark Zuckerberg in Paris art to be what people are making games of.
Not quite the vision.
No.
Yeah, more Ready Player One, less Zuckerberg in Paris.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so as we just kind of wrap up, we're getting pretty close to getting done. I was going to say, and you know what, when it comes to the movies, most people don't, in gaming, I think only 25% of the people actually finish most of the games.
Right.
Not many people say, I didn't finish the movie.
Right.
Yeah.
You couldn't make it 2 hours.
Well, that's a huge problem. This is a great conversation, and it's gone off in a million, but that's a huge issue that the video game industry is, has been trying to tackle, right? Like if the business is going to grow and reach more people, and it's so shocking that Google couldn't tough it out and make Stadia kind of work, especially when people couldn't buy the PlayStation 5 or the Xbox, and they still couldn't sell it on that. It's like you can't get those consoles, but you can get that console experience just by plugging in this Chromecast, but they still couldn't sell it. They still couldn't do it. And I don't know what the reason is. I don't know. Google's got the money. I don't know. But the industry is really trying to figure out how they keep the people that are new, that aren't the lifers. Game Pass is a part of that. But Amy Hennig, who runs Skydance, and she's got the Marvel project, her and her team. That's what her whole thing was all about, because she's a professional in the space. And she hit on it with Uncharted. Uncharted is another one of those games where you could sit down. Remember those amazing commercials with Harrison Ford playing the game and playing Uncharted 3, and there's Indiana Jones playing as Nathan Drake. Profound, right? But she has really kind of zeroed in on the fact that most people are busy. They're too busy in their life to really get to the core joy of games and see it all the way through. And that is a huge dilemma for the games industry, for sure. And I'll tell you what, the rest of media isn't just going to, roll over and let them do that either. Like Netflix has got a Choose Your Own Adventure series that's launching next year. They're buying more and more studios.
They have Triviaverse. They have like you can just play trivia with friends. That's games. Trivia is a game. Yeah. Those Jackbox games are games. I think some people don't realize you're playing games, folks.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I've been saying, like, Apple TV should just come packed with a controller. Like Microsoft, toss in a controller. PlayStation, someone just partner, throw a controller, because you have Apple Arcade 3 months, but a lot of those games need a controller. I have friggin' like 8 Xbox controllers and PlayStation controllers. I can just do it. But you give someone, they buy a new Apple TV and they have it set up there and they're using it to watch Disney Plus or whatever. But it's like, oh, here's 3 free months of Apple Arcade. Okay, cool. Like, I'm not going to try it. It says I need a controller or whatever. I'm not going to go buy a controller. But like, if there was one in the box, it was just like, oh yeah, shit, I'll try Oceanhorn. Like, okay, cool. Now you're a gamer.
Sneaky Sasquatch is that killer app. Yeah,
yeah,
it's an amazing game.
Like it is. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
And I love, like, there's been a ton of Apple Arcade games, or racing games, and different things that I've had great experiences with, and like that's
cool. I don't hear that enough. I hear about Apple Arcade. I hear a lot of hate around Apple Arcade, and it's like, yeah, Apple could be doing more. I feel that, but at least they're there. At least they're there with something. Yeah.
But I think like they're one of the biggest, if not the biggest company in the world. And I find that they're just like, okay, we have Apple Arcade. It's fine. But it would take so little effort just to make that like,
where they're part of the machine that has trained the world to think of games as completely disposable and free and just a way to waste time, not spend time, not to, and honestly, the games industry, this is such a deep, heavy convo that we're having here, but the video game industry is also guilty of spinning its wheels with the games that it makes as well. They have data on what people will say is worth the way too much money of $80 in Canada or $70 in the States. And so they hit an hour quota. And so we have padded missions and, more crap in a game than people really have fun with, and it's the diehards that will stay all the way through it. And then they'll say to their friends that it's good because it's 60 hours or what. It's like, that's such a bullshit way to equate the experience of something that matters. It's that emotional ride that we go on there. I think what happens with it's almost like a Stockholm syndrome. Sometimes you stay in it with a game for so long. It's like, yeah, I had a lot of stuff that I didn't want to, deal with for a big chunk of that time. But by the end, I was so freaking invested. I love this game. But I feel like I feel like more games should, fill 10 hours and rock our worlds. Make us just walk away from that 10-hour experience going, I've never seen or experienced anything like that. But the business model is so tied to these physical discs and cartridges at this price point, and people are scared of coming in at lower costs all the way along the way. Yeah, and it's a big topic.
Yeah, I always appreciated the Call of Duty games because it's like couple hours of like the most Michael Bay shit you're ever going to see, and then you're done with it.
Those things sell because of that,
like the multiplayer, but like
totally. Yeah, I mean, that's it, right? Like Call of Duty, everybody dogs that game, but you know what? They got a formula that works, and they don't overstay their welcome. And then if you want more and you want to play with your buds online, it's a social thing, and everybody buys that game, and everybody wonders how the hell they do it every year. And it's like, well, look at that. They don't waste your time. They fill every moment with obnoxious stuff, but it's like it works.
My 70-something-year-old boss plays that game, right? Like it's everywhere.
It's the one game. It's the one thing that people can relate to, and it's funny you talk about the padding. God of War 2018 felt so tight, and then Ragnarok, I'm loving it, but it's much bigger, more side quests, and it's like, is that a good thing? Well, I love being in the world, and I'm hoping I can go back in New Game Plus, play the rest of the things, but it's like, it's a challenge, right? You want to be able to enjoy it, but time is our most valuable asset. We have so many things pulling us. There's too much TV, too many movies. And so it's like to ask someone who's new to we have a co-host, Mark and I, that does not play games at all, but he loves all these genres. I'm like, if you could, I don't love Star Wars as much as I used to, but I always love playing Star Wars games because I can be in Star Wars. Reading or watching and watching again, it's like, it's not the same as like being Luke Skywalker, shooting stormtroopers. It makes you feel like you're part of the thing you love. Being in a horror game is much different than watching a horror experience because you realize you're the one that has to go through that door. And you're like, oh no, I'm choosing to do this. I guess I like it. Well, This has been an awesome discussion. I have one last question.
Okay.
What category would you, and maybe this will help you, Victor, what category would you like to see in the in an award show? Mark, maybe we can do this in our own gaming awards.
Oh, this is happening. This is happening at the Couch Awards.
Oh, geez. I don't know. You brought up something really interesting with the side quest discussion there. Like, what is the most interesting side content in the game, or the most essential, non-essential part of a game, or who did it best, or something like that. I think that could be really cool. But I don't know. I feel like I think we talk about games in their disparate elements and their sort of parts, and we award these elements like best art design and best music, and I think that there could be an award for like an emotionally powerful punch, where it's all connected. Like there is the most powerful moment from a game in a year could be a pretty rad award, where you see all of these arts have come together and they've affected a player, and you could go all the way back to was it Aerith in Final Fantasy VII, right? And the ripples and the shock and the people talking about that. And there's so many instances that I think we can talk about throughout the years. But maybe that's something that we celebrate. Maybe it's not just about technical proficiencies and artistic merit, but maybe it's that collaborative moment that's really powerful and profound around games. I think that could be a cool piece.
As long as people don't get annoyed by a spoiler, right? Because so many of those awesome moments are it's a spoiler. Oh no! But it's like, I want to share it with everyone. I want to share it with everyone. Yeah.
True. Yeah.
I'm going to go in a very opposite direction with mine. I'm going to say best bug.
Best bug. That's a good one.
There's so much of gaming that's captured.
The footage of that would be amazing. Yeah. Yeah.
And right. Cause you can replay things on YouTube and TikTok and everything else. And it's just like, the horse flew through the air, or the person flew through the ground, or this thing got elongated and all twisty turny. And like, I just want to see the best screw ups of like, games are an amazing technical achievement.
That would be a good one.
Yeah. I don't understand how any of this magic works. It's a series of tubes and gadgets and gizmos, and then there's something on my screen. But sometimes
you get a couple of QA leads that have been testing in games for years, come out and give the award away. I love it. Yeah.
That's it. So I want to see the best bug.
Who wants to come up and get that award though?
Exactly. You're nominated for an award this year.
Yeah,
but that's all it is.
That might be.
That's, I guess, the equivalent of a Razzie award. Yeah, totally. Yeah, I love it.
But I think and that's one of the things I think that can set games apart is that
absolutely.
As gamers, we have grown with that. We expect that bugs happen. It's a very, very technical platform, and even in the most polished of games, sometimes shit can go wrong. A face can disappear and you're stuck with a floating eyeball and teeth. And it's just like, oh, that's not supposed to happen, but I can't stop watching it. So I think that's a good opportunity for the industry to kind of laugh at itself and then get back to the really cool technical stuff and award things.
We're sold, Mark. We're doing it. All right. It's awesome.
I like it.
I love it. I love it. I can bring up my clip of the car I touched in Far Cry 5 in the it looked like it was in a tornado. It just took off. I'm like, what happened? Come on back.
I love it.
So beat that one, Todd.
Oh, well, it's an odd one. And I know we've talked about, we don't want to talk about like the mechanics of games, but I think certain games that may not get recognized bring some cool things to the table. It's almost like an innovation or a mechanic. Sure. So if we think about like Zelda and the slate and the physics, I'm like, that is an awesome innovation where even if that was the only thing it brought new to the table, that's still pretty amazing, and people are going to learn from that and
Yeah.
do things. I think of like what Assassin's Creed brought to the table with their structure of the open world, or GTA, and I'm like, just think what somebody is going to do next. That's going to be so awesome, like Mario with the
So,
hats with Hattie. Yeah.
like a technological achievement, or
Or it could just
a
even be like a gameplay mechanic. Like, this is something in this game I've never seen before, and it's
so
amazing.
coolest gameplay mechanic of
Yeah.
2022.
Like the
Yeah.
gravity gun in Portal. I mean, after
Yeah.
that, I'm like, we want to play with physics.
Mhm.
What the hell would I?
Yeah.
I've played a ton this year. I don't even know what the hell I would give. I don't know who gets that award. Do you have an idea who
Entropy
gets an award
Center.
for that? What is it?
The Entropy Center, Entropy
Oh, that's
Project.
right,
What the
Mark.
hell
You
was the
played that
thing
game.
called?
That's pretty
That was
awesome.
all
I haven't
the
played that.
time variances and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Really cool mechanic. Being able to, reminded me a lot of Portal. Trying to think
Yeah.
of some other games that had some interesting mechanics in them that this year. Yeah, nothing else is coming to mind. That game was really, really cool with how it played with physics and time, and the puzzle solving in that I thought was neat.
Yeah, I think Inscription, just the way they turned a card game on its head, to utilize the cards where your cards are actually talking to you and you're having like conversations, and you're like, oh, I actually have to kill one of my cards. So it made it, and then you walked away from the table. I'm like, oh my God, this game is crazy. So it's not necessarily one mechanic, it's the way they played with all of the mechanics. And it's like, wow, that was pretty amazing. And I hate card games. So
That's wild.
Mm-hmm.
well, this has been fantastic, Victor. But before we go, tell people where they can find you and all the cool stuff that you do.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for having me on. This was a lot of fun and very interesting and insane combo. Like, we went off into so many cool tangents. Thank you for that. I needed that. You can find me on the YouTube channel. I think is the great sort of mothership of all the material that I've been making. It's at youtube.com/EPNTV. That's where the edited content goes live. And there's a lot of classic stuff on there, and there's a lot of new stuff. I stream often on twitch.tv/EPN, and I'm a TikToker now. So it's TikTok. It's the Electric Playground on TikTok, and I'm still on Twitter, Victor_Lucas. I'm Batwing on Instagram, and I post content there too. I post short form videos, so I've been getting into short form. And I do have a podcast. It's still alive. I haven't done it very much recently because I've been so busy. But Vic's Basement, you can listen to hundreds of episodes of that, and I'll have a new one of that soon. And I got to get back on it because I miss it. I miss things like we just did today. This was really cool. But Vic's Basement is my podcast. Yeah, I dabble in a lot of stuff, but it's all about this crazy world that we dig so much.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much. Mark, tell people where they can find you.
You can find me pretty much everywhere: Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok as _Canardian. I am now on Hive, and that one's the same. They don't do underscores, so I just ditched the, and it's the same. Xbox, Switch, and Hive is just Canardian.
Cool. I'm on Hive now too. Victor Lucas on Hive. Too many of these things, but I'm there.
Something will
it's
happen.
a little weird. My head is spinning with all of these
direction.
formats.
Yeah.
I hear about a new one every day, and I'm like, we'll just wait till the dust settles and we have a place to go. So you can all find us. At the Bird at Teoxtra there. Right now I'm in the midst of fantasy football. It's wrapping up. I'm probably gonna lose my mind as I lose my lead. Then see your friends you on Twitter. Follow us there. Our website, secretfriendsunite.com, and I'm also on Hive. That's the website. At Todd of War, which I normally don't do weird things, but I decided to do something fun with that. So that's where we are. And by the way, when you're not too busy, check out our YouTube page as well. We have a lot of fun there, so you can see our wonderful faces in more places. And that is it for the show. Thank you all for joining us on this crazy journey in the world of games. And as always, it's always better to game together.
This podcast is part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network. Visit secretfriendsunite.com for more great shows, articles, news, reviews, and more. Secret Friends Unite podcasts are available on Apple, Google, Spotify, and other podcast services around the world. If you'd like to be part of the conversation, you can join us on Facebook or our new Discord server, or follow @SecretFriendsU on Twitter. Please subscribe to Secret Friends Unite on YouTube and visit our merch store at tpublic.com. Just search Secret Friends Unite. Thanks for listening.